One day you're at the beach. You put your toes in the water. Oh, it feels so warm. It's inviting. It pulls you in. You start swimming and frolicking. And before you know it, you hear this crashing sound behind you. And you look back and there's this massive wave and you start swimming as fast as you can away from the edge. But it keeps pulling you in and you're swimming and for your life struggling, wondering if it's gonna slam you into the sand. And before you know it, in spite of your best efforts, it pulls you under and you're like in a tornado, horizontal, around and around. You come up, you gasp for air, and then you're down again. You gasp for air, and then you're down again. One time you come up for air and you look around, you see some of your family members and friends, and they're the same thing. They're swimming away, and they're getting pulled under, and you realize you're not going anywhere quick. Everybody's gonna be up here for a while, so you start planning to have lunch, have dinner, live a life in the midst of this tidal wave of change. Well, welcome to our new world. It seems like this is what the world is like right now. Both in America and around the world, change is our new norm. And it's hard to get accustomed to what those might mean. Those changes might mean for us as leaders and pastors. Imagine this is where we're living right now, at the top of an 80-foot crest of water. How, as a pastor, do we lead in the middle of this? Many leaders are wondering, what is my next step? How do we lead the church? I'm Luce. I want to invite you to a very special webinar called the 4 Critical Questions for the Next 100 Days. How are we going to seize this post-pandemic moment to see explosive growth in our church? This is a moment like no other in all of our lifetime. There's an openness of people, and we need to make sure we're prepared when churches open back up. These next 100 days, we are ready for the growth and for the impact that we can make. We're going to be talking about things like becoming the sons of Issachar. You know, scripture says that they knew the times that they lived in, and they knew exactly what Israel should do. That's what we ought to be doing as pastors and leaders, understanding the moment that we live in and what action should we take. Some of the questions we're going to be looking hard at are things like, what are some of the other macro trends that are affecting the church right now all around the world, and what can we do about that? During my doctoral studies, I studied strategic foresight. That is the science of futuring and what are the trends that are impacting all kinds of industries. We're going to talk about it specifically related to the church and answer some of those questions. We're also going to talk about what are some of the best practices of exponential churches. The last 3 years, I've gone all around the world studying churches that are growing exponentially. That is, they're reaching lots of people, but they're growing them deep. And even in the middle of the pandemic, they've continued to grow, not just with views online, but making disciples. What are their best practices and how can you adopt them? We're also going to examine the question, what are practical tools we can use right now to impact both millennials and Gen Z? Because of what's happened all around the world, the financial instability, the fear, there's a moment here to reach into their hearts. And many pastors and leaders have struggled with this. How do I reach millennials? How do I impact Gen Z? Now's the moment if we just seize it. And then finally, we're going to look at the question, how can we invent the future that we want? Instead of being a victim of trends and situations, how can we invent the future that we feel like the Lord has for our church? Together, we can be like the sons of Issachar. Together, we can understand the times and seize the moment and know the right things to do and how to plan accordingly. Please click right now and join me on this webinar. If you click right now, you're going to get a free ebook immediately downloaded called The 3 Steps to Surfing the Waves of Change. You just don't want to miss this webinar. Together, as church leaders, we're going to unite, we're going to learn, and we're going to go forward with strength, seizing this moment because it's a new season. And it needs new strategy for new impact. We'll see you at the webinar. Thanks.